taken into account of the atoms and the molecules, there the motion of the electrons is directly not observable by us, and if we have observed their motion by with the electronic microscope, it can be proved. And next, I will give you still some other examples for the motion. And if we have taken into account of the animals and the birds and the human beings, all these things are all these living beings, they used to move from a place to place in search of food and shelter. And the animals and the birds, when sun rises in the morning, they used to move from one place to another place in search of food. And if we have taken into account of the human beings, they used to move from one place to another place in search of food and shelter. And this is how, by these examples, we will come across the whatever the importance of the motion. And next is next question what arises is that when we come to know when and how we how we will come to know the object. The object is being in a state of rest or motion. So this is what the question, when and how we will come to know the object is being in a state of rest or motion. So this can be explained in this now this I will explain in 3-4 sentences. So the answer for this question is, the question is like this: when and how we will come to know the object is being in a state of rest or motion. So students, the answer for the above question can be explained in this way. So the first one is, the question is like this: when and how we will come to know an object is in a state of rest or motion. So the answer for this one, the first one is that, see, if the object is changing its position with a fixed with a fixed reference point, and it is and it is changing its place with time, so then the object is said to be in motion. See, what I said is, if the object is changes its position with fixed reference point. And the second one, if the same object changes its position, if the object shown a displacement by taking certain time. So with these two conditions, it can be proved that it can be it is possible by these two conditions, it is possible by us to say the object is in motion or at rest. And the example for this one is, I want to give you now the examples for this. The first one example, the example for this one is, the first one example is, so we think in a bus line, two buses are standing side by side, and the passengers are sitting in a bus. So let us take this example of two buses standing in bus stand, and I will name the first one as a bus A and second bus B. And a person, a person is sitting in a bus A, and if the same person, so he want to check whether his bus is in motion or at rest. So that is what the example that I have taken. And so what this person he does is, he takes a look at the outside through the window, and he sees the whatever the bus B standing beside his bus, and taking that as a bus B as a reference point, or you may say a point of reference, okay, as a reference point. So he decides whether his bus is moving or at rest. So think, whatever, by taking the reference point as bus B, if the bus A started to change the place, started to move in a forward direction or in a backward direction, so then he decides himself, so his bus is in motion. Okay, so like this, or another one example. So think, already the bus A is in motion, is moving in a forward direction, and the same person is sitting in the bus, and again he wants to check whether his bus is moving or at rest. And how he decides is, he takes a look at the outside through window, and whatever the beside the road, whatever the trees or the electrical poles, so taking them as a reference point, electrical poles or the trees, so taking them as a reference points, or what are electrical poles or trees, taking them as a reference point. So he decides himself, that his bus is moving, and whatever trees and electrical poles are moving backside. But what the truth is that whatever the electric poles and the trees, so originally or basically they are at rest, and taking these electrical poles and the trees, so taking as a reference point, and the